I think we got live. Hi. This is a Carlos style impromptu live stream. It's like probably about 12 hours now when the Nikon Z8 will get its little claim to fame. It's going to be carried live tomorrow by Simon at Ordinary Filmmaker. So if you are up at that time of the morning, my guess is Simon will be there to greet you. And then after that, I think at 12 noon Eastern time, Miami time, you will get a, AP Studios is going to go live. So one after the other. And I think Chuck at AP Studios will be on Simon, which is Ordinary Filmmaker, at the early show. So I think the announcement is scheduled to start at 8 o'clock in the morning. So it should be something kind of interesting. It is an important camera to see and to find out what's gonna go on. So there's two ways to look at the camera. One of the ways to look at the camera is, what is it that you want? What do you want it to be about? And then what is it that you want to see, be there, even though it might not be what you want. And then the third thing is to kind of get into a businessman suit or hat, as they call it, and think like a board, okay? So let's say you have a business board and it's up on the wall. And you make up these slots, and then after you make up all these slots, you fill up the slots with what you think will go there. And you could even use that board, it could be a whiteboard, okay, to actually put in some of the competitors of what is going on in those same places. Okay, trying to get the wire so that as I talk with my hands, like this, I don't grab the wire and just pull it right out. That's the wire for the mic. All right, so let's start with a little bit of the board. Okay, so the board starts at the top, and the Nikon line. I don't think we have anyone that's going to argue with what's at the top. It's the Z9. So the Z9 is at the top of the board, and that price is $5,500. So what would be at the bottom of the board? Okay, the middle is where we're all going to argue about, okay? We got the top of the board, we got the bottom of the board. So this is a business board, kind of like a business plan or a plot of where the products fit. And that's what I'm talking about now, which is different than what the camera should have. So like that's another argument all by itself, features. Okay, so features is another argument that you can actually have. So let's not get on the features right off the bat. Let's go to the business board first, okay? And then we can start to fill in what's on that business board. So you'll have the top of the board will be Z9, and that's what, $5,500. Let's round it out, okay, because it's like $54.99. So for $1, let's just fill in that business board. So the Z9 will be, what time is it now? A little after 8:30. So in less than 12 hours, you'll have the announcement, and Simon will be hosting it live. And on Simon's show will be quite a few people. I will be in bed, sound asleep. I will try to put my alarm on because I'd like to see what it's about. I'm very curious about this camera myself. So you'll have a live broadcast from Simon, and Simon is, by the way, Ordinary Filmmaker. And then you have another gentleman named Chuck, and he's AP Studios. And he will be on Simon's show at the 8 o'clock show. And then Chuck is going to have his own show at, I think he scheduled it for around noon. So this is all Miami, New York, Eastern Coast time. So that's what we've got. So we can divide the camera, like I said, or the whole event into two categories. A nice big board, which think of it like a whiteboard, almost like in class. Okay, so you'll have a classroom type of a mindset versus a mindset of features. Okay, now features can be more personal, and for me, features are more personal. It's what I'd like to see. So we've got, we've got two guys in here. We got Randy, and he's saying hi, Peter, and Woody. Are you going to be in Simon and Chuck's Z8 shows? No, I don't think I'm going to be physically on either show, but you never know, because they're quick to climb aboard. Okay, with Simon, even while he's live, all I have to do is make a phone call, and he'll look at the call while he's live, and oh, Peter wants to be here, so he'll just pop me in. But I'll probably be kind of sleepy. So I want to get back to this board because it's two ways of presenting the same exact argument. So the argument is basically, where is the Z8 going to fit? And we do kind of understand. Most of us agree. It's the rest of the board where we kind of get into little squabbles, like brotherly squabbles, okay? So the very top of the board is the Z9. So the Z9 is at the top of the Nikon board. So if you had a magic marker right at the top, you're going to put Z9, okay? So that's what is going to be there. And then let's go to the bottom of the board. You've got the Z30, and you've got the ZFC cameras, which this is the ZFC you're looking at right now. So that's a $1,000 camera. So the $1,000 camera isn't meant to be head-to-head with the 5500 Z9 at the top of this board. So at the top of the board, we put in Nikon Z9, and near the bottom, we'll put the Nikon Z30. Now, depending on what part of the world you're in, people will call it Nikon or Nikon, okay? And different parts of the world will also say Z for the letter Z in the alphabet, and Z for the letter Z in the alphabet. So you'll hear it being said both ways. It means the same thing, okay? It's just showing how you were brought up, excuse me, and what part of the world you probably are in right now, but not necessarily true, okay? So the Nikon ZFC is about $1,000, and a little bit under that price, you've got the Nikon Z30, you've got a Z50. Now you move up a little bit, you've got the entry of full frame, which is the Z5. So most people, but not all people, believe it or not, believe that the Z8 that's going to come to fruition tomorrow is going to be in the second spot on our little business board, okay? So the little business board is not exactly what we want. We're going to get and talk about that too, okay? We're going to talk about what we want, what we'd like to see, but right now we're just working at the business board. Many of us come in our little group here from a business background. So the business background allows us to switch gears. And you just got to go along for the ride because your business background might interfere with your wish list. It does with mine, okay? So many people would like to put the Z8 right under the Z9. Duh, the numbers kind of play out, right? The Z9 is at the top and it's $5,500. So it's logical that the Z8, logical doesn't mean probable, okay? We've got people texting me. Okay, so these are just friends, okay? And they don't know I'm live because this is not kind of my slot to be live. All right, so the Z8 would kind of like fit in to being in the second place on our business board. Now let's keep the business board and the desires of our hearts and what we'd like to see and the features, let's keep them as two different whiteboards. It's hard to do, okay, because you so quickly slip into, but it's got to have such and such. Well, that's on the desires of my heart board, okay? Going to the business board. Now, when these men have their business meeting, and women, you don't get to say frivolous stuff. Yeah, but Mr. President, Mr. Nikon President, I so much wanted this, and I so much wanted... Excuse me, ma'am, you're a business professional. You have a doctorate degree or a master's degree in business. So we're on the business board right now. And we're on the business board right now too. Okay? So looking at the business board, you've got the Nikon, we wrote at the top, we've got the Nikon Z9, and it kind of logically makes sense that the Z8 would be number 2. Not 100%. I think there's people that could argue on the business board, okay, that the Z8 might take another spot on their list of cameras. So remember, at the bottom, we have the Nikon ZFC, and we have the Z30 underneath it. We got the Z50 a little bit above that, and then above the ZFC, you enter into full frame land, all right? So now, if we go over to, now let's stay on the business board for a quick second. If we go over to, let's see if I can put this and put the red button on so that we don't get text. But I want text because I do see that Randy's here, and I want Randy to be able to text me. Okay, so now they're both silenced. Okay, so what I'm thinking is you could argue that the Z8, because we put it in position number 2, it would probably fight on the business board. Remember, this side is the business board. It would probably fight the Canon R5 and the Sony R5, the ZR5, okay? So up at the top, up too high, okay, you have the Nikon Z9, and obviously the Canon big boy up there is what? The Canon big boy right now is the R3, but I think Canon kind of places the R3 in the second position on their board, their business board, and they plan on coming out with an R1 at some point. But right now, the Z1 is the flagship for the Nikon, and the R3 is the flagship for Nikon, for Canon. And what would you say is Sony's flagship? I would say it's the A1. So I don't think we can have a whole lot of fussing and fighting about the positions of the flagships. So now in position number 2, you've got the Canon R5, and there's supposed to be a Canon R5 Mark II, which is another conversation. And then you have the Sony A7S R5 would be in their second position on their strategy board, and I'm putting the Z8 in position number 2 on Nikon's strategy board. Might not play out. Might not play out. We don't have that answer. At 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're going to be able to fill these boards ourselves, okay? So Randy's here, Woody's here. Woody wants the Z8 might be his 500 replacement. Okay, now that is not on the business board. So I don't know your business background, Woody, okay? I don't know if you were owned a company, were a marketing executive, or you worked working on the chain gang, okay, that kind of a thing. But that would be on the board for what we want, okay? And that's where the people that go to that meeting get to say what Woody just said. I want a D500 replacement, okay? That's not on the business board, okay? The D500 replacement would be down in the lower echelons, okay? Because you've got the Z9, you've got an open hole, all right? And I've plugged it with the Z8. Now you got the Z7 Mark II. Now that's on the business board, okay? And that fits in the 3,000 area. It can be anywhere from 28 to 3,500. Okay, then you have the Z6 Mark II. So now we're filling in the board. All right, you could do the same thing with Sony, and you can do the same thing with Canon. So with Canon, you got the R3 as their flagship at the moment, but I think they got a little secret spot on top. It's going to be the R1. Okay. Then you got the R6. The R6 Mark II. The R6 still is in the game. All right, but I think it's going to drop out. But you can't tell. We don't run these boards. These companies run the boards. Okay, so that's what you got going. So you got the camera that Woody wants is a APS-C camera. Where does that fit on the business board? Not on my heart's desires board. Okay, so on the business board, the D500 would also be with the 500D on the Canon board. That would be below the halfway mark. Okay, so the multiple thousands of dollar cameras are on the upper half of the board. All right, so what do we have a possible plug-in camera for the board, for the business board? Is you've got the Z8 and you've got the Nikon DF. Okay, now the DF is really a point of contention. It's really hi Stephen. Someone needs a haircut. Randy says not like the A7R5. Randy says Z8, a flip out screen to the side. That's the my heart's desire board. Okay, the business board is just placing the cameras on how we're going to do battle. We're going to do battle like a chessboard. Okay, but now it's a business board. So the Z9 is at the top. The Z7 II and the Z6 II are under it, and there's a slot in the middle that would fight, okay, the Canon R5 and the Sony R5, the A7 R5, all right? So I'm placing the Z8 into the spot where it's going to be the fighter of the Canon R5 and the Sony R5. And Nikon's name should have been the Z5, but there is one and I can't do it. So it's going to be the Z8 is what I'm thinking. Now, the DF is something that we could play with on that board. Now, you could make an argument to make it where the DF is the number 2 position, and it takes on a whole new persona. That's unusual to happen in the camera world, okay? But because there's people that are talking about the ZFC, which is down here in price at $1,000. But a ZFC is actually what I'm running here. When you see the camera that's over on that side of me, that's the ZFC, which got a complete overhaul last night, by the way. Everything was not set up in conjunction with the camera that is the main camera right smack dab in front of me. So here's the ZFC. So last night it got a change to the profile to where it became standard. It got a change on the clarity. Got a change on the sharpening. It got a change on the saturation levels. So now if I actually come over here, okay, let's get the mouse, and I come up over here and I put them side by side, meaning the two cameras are next to each other. So now this is the ZFC, which is that bad boy over there, and this is the Z6, which is not the Z6 Mark II. This is actually quite an elderly camera. This camera's got to be 3-4 years old. And now I've tried to tune them in side by side. All right. So the only thing that this happened like at 4 or 5 in the morning last night. So the only thing that's not true is I did at the last second switch the lens. So it's not the 50mm automatic G lens. I actually have the 85mm Nikon manual lens there, where I had to put something here, focus it, and pray it doesn't move, which it does. So far it still looks in focus. So that's a little bit under the radar, just at what we're looking at, and then we'll get right back to our conversation that we got going on here, if I could just find my mouse, okay? So the second position is what's at question and what's going to get answered tomorrow morning. Position number 2 on the business chart, I think, is going to be the Z8. Okay, and for it to be the Z8, it's got to be, give or take, the $4,000 level. You can go $4,500. You can go $3,800. Remember, we are now fighting the Canon R5 and the Sony R5, the A7R5. Okay, so it's a coincidence that the number 2 slots on both of the competitors are called R5s. And on the Nikon, it's going to be the Z8. So if the Z8, let's say, comes out at $5,000 for the camera itself, we're not doing the other board, the desire of our hearts, okay? We're doing the business board where we're engaging. We are high-end business people now. So we can actually pump up the camera where it's actually a little bit better than the R5 from Canon and the R5 from Sony, and that'll bring it to the point of maybe raising the price. So maybe it won't be the $3,800 box, okay? Now, if you look at Canon's R5, suddenly in the last month, the price is sliding. I mean, they are big and proud, you know. $3,800, our flagship camera. You can get them used on B&H under $3,000. You can get them brand new on B&H with a present, with a gift, the Canon R5 for $3,300. So what is that telling you? That's telling me that the rumor sites and all these people that are giving us fodder on the internet might be incorrect on the release of the Canon R5, R5 II, I should say. Maybe it's not going to be in 2024. Maybe it's going to be sooner. These are all maybes, remember? We are not God. We are not in charge of the Nikon business board or the Canon business board, and we are not in charge of the Sony business board. We are the speculators, but we're coming with our brains turned on, okay? So that makes me a little bit suspicious, okay? We want to try to figure out with our business sense, and I'm looking at who's here. Scotty's here, okay? Just got home from Bible study. What camera body do you want now? Okay, we're not on that board, okay? I have 2 boards going, Scott. We got 2 boards. One is the desires of my heart in the camera world board. And one is the business board where the desires of our heart don't matter. We're here at the meeting of Nikon, at the business meeting where the suits, the ties are all on. And you don't have that person going, but I want this and I want that. You're not in that business meeting. They'll throw you right out. You're in the, we got the Z9 as the top of our camera line. We've got the bottom filled in these spots, the ZFC, the Z50, the Z30. I mean, these boys are talking business. It's not how we talk on the internet. On the internet, we are mostly 99% the desires of our heart board, okay? I want to see this and I want that and I'd like a flippy screen and I don't want a flippy screen and I want, like Woody said, he wants a D500 and so on and so. That's the wrong board for right now. We're going to get to that board, okay? But right now, we're the stuck up, politically correct, soft-spoken business meeting, all right? So the business meeting is now looking at our marketing positions. Our marketing positions, some of it we could see. There is no argument. The Z9 is at the top. The ZFC is near the bottom, $1,000 range. And you've got the Z50 and the Z30. So the Z8, I have personally placed it on position number 2. So the Z8 will fight Canon's business board at the position of the R5. And it will fight Sony's position board at the position of their ASR5, okay? And these boards change, but this is long-term boards, okay? So what we're actually discussing right now is what's in position number 2 on the Nikon business board. Not the desires of your heart board, but the Nikon business board. I think the Z8 could be there, but a person could make an argument. If you take the DF camera, which is very much a shooter's camera, and you take the DF camera and you keep its form, you keep the form of the DF, but you add video to that camera. So the photographer is going to have all his buttons and dials. That's what the Nikon DF is known for. It's kind of like on the Leica board, okay, you have all those Leica cameras and the Fuji cameras. So the Fuji cameras very much are all about dials and making it where you're working the camera, kind of like a manual transmission versus an automatic transmission. So Fuji is very much into that. It's a camera where you are so much involved with the operation of the camera. Now Fuji is getting away from that and having less dials, but the Leica is basically a street camera, okay? Does it mean you can't use it elsewhere? I've known some guys that shot weddings with the Leica. That's just the way it is. They shoot with the Leica. They like the Leica, okay? So the DF is Nikon's Leica. So the Z8 could be in position 2 on the board, the business board for Nikon. The DF could be position 2, or it could be position 3, or it could be completely a niche camera, meaning the DF Mark II could possibly be only for pictures. They don't put any video in it like it has now. No video, okay? But the price is not going to come in at a cheapy-weepy price. So it's up on that business board, okay? So we have quite a few people in here now, all right? So let me just recap real quick. There's 2 boards that I want to talk about. Let's call it like a whiteboard, like a classroom board. The board on this side is the desires of my heart, the desires of your heart, what you would like to see in the Nikon Z8. That is features. I want this and I want that. That's the desires of your heart. Then we have on this side a different whiteboard. This is the whiteboard where the gentlemen that are suits, that are high-paid executives, are talking about camera positions. This is not where we get into the I want this and I want, almost like a childlike, argument. The internet is very much into the childlike argument. And I don't say that to actually belittle that argument. I'm just saying that's where we are. I want a flippy screen that flips forward. The other guy might go like, I don't want a flippy screen. That's not at the business meeting. That is not acceptable at the business meeting. At the business meeting, the people with doctorate degrees, master's degrees, are filling in the chart for our warfare against Canon, if we are Nikon, and against Sony. Okay, so we got position number 1 is filled in already. It's the Nikon Z9. So it's going to be a little bit hard to get higher than Z9, because then you get into double digits if you go to Z10. All right, so it would probably be the Z9 Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV. So they've got a ladder that they can climb with their flagship camera. And it's obvious as can be on the Canon whiteboard for their business plan that the R3 is their current flagship, okay? And on the Sony business plan, the A1 is their current flagship. So the Z9 is flagship to flagship. That's the battle of the emperors, which ones are flagships. Now we do know that Canon, the rumors are very heavy that they're going to come out with an R1, and that'll even do better than the R3, okay? On the Nikon side, which is what our conversation is at this point, okay? So our conversation at this point is the business battle plan, not this is the desires of my heart plan. The desires of my heart plan is going to be much more interesting, okay? But the business battle plan is important because we're going to see it unfold tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. where Simon, ordinary filmmaker, is going to actually cover the event. And then Chuck is going to do another live show at 12 o'clock tomorrow, where you guys are probably going to be on that show very feature driven, the desires of my heart. There's not a lot of conversation on the business battle plan. So the business battle plan, we got the Z9. So the Z8, is it going to be number 2? Okay. Is there a possibility that the DF could come in underneath it? So let's talk dollars for a second. We got the Z9, which has boxed itself in at $5,400, which the other guys are higher in price. They're at $6,400, $6,500. So the Nikon's got, for the general market, a better price for their flagship, but it's also limiting in the dollar income. So the Z8 might team up with the Z9 in the dollars to come in at a better price point. So the Z8 could very well come in as a baby Z9. All right, and I did have a conversation with Randy on the phone, and his conclusion is that the Z8 is going to be a higher price camera than we think. Most people are thinking the Z8 is there to compete with the R5, and I believe that. And it's there to compete with the A7 R5, and I believe that also. And these cameras are in the $5,500, no, they're in the $3,800 slots. So the Z8, if it wants to be on the battlefield with the R5 on Sony and the R5 on Canon, needs to be in the $3,800 slot. Okay, so that's what brings in the question. Do we raise the price of the Z8 and actually make it higher than the R5s from Canon and Sony, and do the $5,000 and just subtract the grip and make the camera very close and identical to the Z9? Or does the Z8 actually go to battle and put on its armor and the spear and go to battle with the Sony and the Canon R5s? In that case, it's not going to win that battle at the $5,000 or $4,500 price point. So we've got a problem there. All right. So what I'm thinking is, in the picture of the business board, I'm thinking that either the DF or the Z8 is going to be the battle camera, okay? And the reason that that's important, why I'm even bringing it up here, is the battle camera to compete with Sony R5 and Canon R5 has got to be in a similar price, which is $3,800. And if Nikon wants to push it a little bit, they can probably make it $39.99. Okay, these guys are pushing the envelope. Remember, $19.99 was our entry price for the upper level cameras. Well, what is it now? Now it's $2,500, $24.99, and they're all getting away with it because we're going like, that's a decent price for that. Well, my mind is, no, it's not. The camera, you know, buying cameras for $2,500 is not as easy as buying a McDonald's Big Mac, yet they're making it like that, okay? And their counterattack on that is, we've got cameras for you guys that want them for $1,000. We've got the R8 on Canon, full frame camera, R8, all right? We've got the ZFC $1,000 camera, which is the guy you're looking at right here. It's not full frame, but wow, what an awesome camera. This is the equivalent of the DF in you know, the APS-C format. So you've got that going on. So let's stay in the price box, okay? Don't get out of the price box real quick. Let's stick in the price box, and there's a reason that that's important, okay? So let's say, for the sake of talking, okay, let's pick one scenario. The Z8 is in slot number 2, okay? And let's pick another scenario to go with it. It's $5,000. It's not $3,800, okay? The This is a scenario. We'll know tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock or a little bit past that what the reality will be. So if you and I are buddies, okay, so Charles, Randy, Scott, Tim, I don't know, Stephen, if you're in on this argument or if you just came in to say hi, Woody. So we got our business hats on. So we're going to release a camera now, all right, for between $4,500 and $5,000, okay? So you know what a leech is? Do you remember the African queen where the leech was on the skin and Humphrey Bogart was, oh, get them off, and she was, who was in that movie with her, was pouring salt to get the leech to release off his skin, and they were over his chest and his back. Okay, you don't want to put a leech, a bloodsucker, a money sucker. You don't want to put a money sucker to clobber your $4,500 and $5,000 sale. So I don't believe they're going to come out with a $5,000 or $4,500 camera business whiteboard now. We're not talking about, oh, I want this and I want that. That's another board. We're going to talk about that a little later, okay? So I'm not going to get in a business meeting with Randy, Scott, Charles, Tim, and whoever else is in here, okay, and say, well, we're going to put out a let's say $4,599 or $4,600 camera. So that's kind of halfway between the $5,000 and the $4,500, okay? But we're also going to put out a $3,500 camera. Well, in my mind, in my business mind, I see that as a leech to squash the sales of my $4,700 camera. Position number 2, the Z8, okay? So whatever second camera is going to come out tomorrow, I don't think is going to be something that's going to kick the Z8 in the nuts. Okay, so we're going to come out, shiny new Z8, all proud. He's dressed up in a nice suit, 3-piece suit, nice tie. Okay, we're going to prance him around. He's our champion at $4,699. Okay, position number 2 on the Nikon business chart. And then in comes another guy and basically clobbers him with a baseball bat where the sun don't shine. Okay, that's not a good business plan. Not the desires of our heart plan, a business plan, okay? So we have a spot that's going to get filled in the future, but I don't think it's going to be tomorrow. I think tomorrow you're going to get something for camera number 2. Camera number 2 is going to be the Z8. This is our speculation. So now the second camera is going to be down here. The ZFC, the Z50, the Z30, that neighborhood, $1,000. They could come out with a, like Woody's over here. He's craving for that D500. Okay, so the D500 might be $1,500 or $1,800. So let's say it's $1,799 for a D500, which would be like, let's say their top of the line APS-C. And they pack it nicely. Nikon's got a habit of packing these cameras very nicely. So they get an $1,899 player. That's going to play with Sony's what? What do they have that's $1,800? They have the FX30. Hello? Okay. So you see how these guys go into a battle plan and they don't play with the features on the battle plan meeting. So right now we are playing with the battle plan meeting, okay? So what could be $1,800 to fill that lower slot? Whatever that camera is, okay? We're not going to the desires of our heart whiteboard. We're going to stay here. Whatever that camera is, it's not going to give a swift kick to the nuts of the Z8. So I use that, the swift kick to the nuts, not because I'm being perverted or nasty. It would knock the air out of it, okay? That kind of a kick has a tendency to make you fold over and make it hard to breathe, all right? So let me come up with a better thing, a good sucker punch to the gut, okay? Sounds a little more family-oriented. Got to correct myself here sometimes, all right? So an $1,800 camera could also be released with the very top, the Z8. So the Z8 could very well be a baby Z9. One is $5,500 and one is $4,799. Okay, so that slot for the $3,500, $3,800 is still open, but they're not going to fill it now because that could suck the air out of the Z8. You don't produce a Cadillac, a sedan DeVille, and a sedan, a coupe DeVille, and basically weep away your own sales. Okay, so I spent a lot of time here to show you what we might see getting filled in tomorrow. We're going to see the Nikon business board getting filled in tomorrow. Okay, I see Sammy, I see Kyle. He's saying hi. My phone is in the charger. Okay, we're having a business meeting, guys. Okay, we're having a Nikon business meeting. Now let's move this Nikon business meeting, and let's move it from the business whiteboard, and let's move it over to the desires of our heart whiteboard. And now you're going to see the comments coming in. I would like to see such and such on the Z8. I would like to see it have this. Now this is the desires of my heart. This is about features, okay? Nothing to do with the business sense, because the features, we don't know the price, we don't know the position, and until we know that, all we can really talk about are the features, okay? So now we're going to talk about the features, and we can even say, oh, I'd like it to be this price or that price, okay? That's not going to be, that stuff, those topics are not going to be at the business whiteboard meeting, where the people that are holding their doctorate degrees and their master's degrees, and they are combating their business battle plan with Canon's business battle plan and Sony's business battle plan, and you can even bring in the other camera companies. One of the unique ones is Fuji, all right? So Fuji is very centered on their business battle plan, okay? Not the features, but they have a lineup of cameras that are crop-centered cameras. So you might say to yourself, let's say you're at their meeting and you're one of the people that have this doctorate degree. Your name is Justin and you have a doctorate degree, and you go, but we don't have anything in full frame. Well, Justin, pay attention to our battle plan, okay? We skipped full frame on the Fuji battle plan, and we have cameras that are medium format that very much act like the Nikon, Canon, and the Sony flagship cameras, except ours is different. Ours is medium format. Does it have high-end video? Yes, it does. Does it have 8K? No, it doesn't. But it gives you medium format. Is that a trade-off? A guy that wants 8K versus a guy that wants a little better sensor, going to jump up to medium format? So that's the Fuji battle plan. So that is the meeting that we just were at. Now, we're going to leave that meeting. We're going to take off our ties. We're going to relax. We're going to be friends. And we're going to come over to the meeting over here. This is a different whiteboard. It can be some of the guys from the business meeting that's going to go over to here. But this is more you and me, okay? Where we get the desires of our heart on that whiteboard. So I would like to see such and such, and I want to see you complete that sentence. I'd like to see the Z8 do this. I'd like to see the Z8 do that. So I realize I kind of squelched you guys from doing that, but thank you. I really have to say thank you very much for not taking and turning the business battle plan for Nikon that we were pretending to be at that meeting, and not turning it into a desires of my heart and features meeting. All right. So to reward all of us, including myself, we're gonna leave that meeting be. We're not closing it. We're not turning out the lights, but we're gonna go over to. I would like to see the Z8 have these features. You can even make demands. If it doesn't have this, I'm not buying it. Okay, now we're in that meeting, and you could do that. All right, so I'm opening the conversation to where you are going to argue about features and positions on the features, and that is very, very different from the business meeting. These guys are all stuck up, stiff-necked suits. They're there to talk about the money and what camera is going to be in what slot to fight the cameras on the competitor slots. That is a very upper snotty nose meeting, okay? And I think I explained that part fairly well. Now, let's open the meeting for the whiteboard where features. What features do we want on the Z8? What would we like to see on the features? Completely different meeting because we don't engage our business sense on this meeting, all right? So I would like a flippy screen. However, I do not believe we are going to get a flippy screen, okay? I believe that the Z8 is going to have the same screen as the Z9, which on the business side might push the Z8 kind of high. Remember where I put it on the business meeting? The Z8 is a baby Z9, and not that much of a baby in size, but not baby in features. The price is going to be right up there, okay? It's back over here. It's hard for me not to jump over there. So where is my first proof that we're not going to get a flippy screen? I'd like to be wrong on that. I'd like to see that we do get a flippy screen, all right? Jim is here. Did I say hi? Hi, Jim. I'm not I'm posting all the comments here. I'm trying to get an actual conversation going, okay? So I can actually post the comment, but I'm going to stay on target for our features. I would like the Z8 to have a flippy screen, okay? And the reason for that is I have 4 cameras that are operational in here and 1 that is not operational, all right? I have the Nikon ZFC, which is doing a beautiful job, by the way. The colors on the Nikon ZFC for a $1,000 camera is matching the Z6 Mark I, and I'm assuming the Z6 Mark II, okay? We have what Randy just said, okay? Randy just said that there is a leaked image. Now, so far, all the leaked images have actually been proven to be false. So it makes me a little bit squeamish as to how accurate this actually is, okay? So let's go over to Nikon Rumors, okay? I need to bring you with me. Let me bring you with me to Nikon Rumors and come up here and go to where we're actually looking at the Nikon Rumors website. So they have only a few hours left. Are you ready? Okay. So we only have a few hours left. Are you ready? Well, we know it's going to be now 11 hours. Okay. Actually 10.5 hours. Okay. So tomorrow, May 10th, don't forget Mother's Day is this Sunday. You guys all have mothers in one way or another. If they're here or they're in heaven, we still want to honor our mothers. Okay. All right. So now a little bit lower, we have another leaked image. Okay. So let's go to there and let's see if he gives this a rating. Okay. So this is the leaked image. He didn't give it a rating because we've got burned so often that it's kind of dangerous to say this is true or not true, okay? So if you look at this camera, I can't identify what this button here is for, if this is a true image of the Z8, all right? I also don't like the fact that we got the dingle-dangly things here. At this level of a camera, those should be completely gone. They are a pain, a bigger pain than I can possibly tell you, okay? This should have just a straight bar where all you have is the part that receives your strap. So this is what we don't like. Now, we do have a new button over here. They don't have a button there before. Okay, so what is that button doing? All right, and we have the, where did I see? The hinge, okay? This hinge right here seems to not be a flippy screen hinge, but it seems to be a hinge with this that's going to pull this whole assembly out. Very much like the Z9. That's what it looks like to me. Okay? And then we have the thing for your fingernail to grab this and pull this up. So you would get your fingernail underneath here and you would pull this screen up, which means it's a screen that tilts up. All right? And this would be what can pull it away. Now, the real win for me is if this whole assembly is like Sony, the R5 on the Sony, the A7R5. The A7R5 does both. It tilts up so you can actually put the camera in your lap without flipping it all the way to the side of the camera. And then after you have it tilted up, you can then flip it out here and it can flip forward. So I call the flipping one, the one that flips forward is the flippy screen, okay? Now the other thing that I noticed is the lens mount is really close, dang, to the edge of the camera. Holy cannoli, you know. Do I have that wrong? Or is this, the lens mount mighty close? Okay, and I'm looking over here. If you look over here where they put an indentation, where this actually looks like a joystick, what finger would run a joystick over here unless you turn the camera sideways? Okay, so if you turn the camera sideways, I don't have a shutter up on top, okay, but I have a joystick. So this is a little bit weird. I'm trying to think of the functionality of the camera, all right? So this is on NikonRumors.com, so you guys can open another tab and go there. I want to come back over to the broadcast, okay? So I'm gonna leave that go and come back over to the broadcast. Give me a second to get my bearings and turn on where I'm back over here, okay? So what do you think of that if it's true? And let's keep in mind that Nikon Rumors didn't have the guts to give it a rating because 3 times they've gotten fooled. They didn't get fooled. The picture that was being depicted as a leak of the camera was not true. So this one actually can be a real picture. They're presenting it to us and they're letting us make the choice. Is it real or not? I'm not willing to stick my neck out on the line is what it looks like that they're doing, okay? And I don't say that I blame them. I think I would be a little bit cautious too. Tim says that is the focus assist button, same as the Z9, okay? So he's identifying it as a focus assist button, all right? So when you push that button, is it like a joystick on the Z9, Tim? How does that function in real life? What does the focus assist do? Is that where you invoke you know, all kinds of things for manual focus? Because you really wouldn't use focus assist. Let me get comfortable here. Okay, you wouldn't use focus assist on automatic focus, but you could. Okay, and Tim, do you know the Z9? Is the lens mount rather close to the edge of the body? And also, it seems like they put where you plug in the mic a little bit above if the camera does have a flippy screen. If it does, okay, it looks like they put the mic plug in a little higher above the screen so it doesn't interfere. But the HDMI port cover does seem very much like it might be a full-size HDMI. It's one cover strictly for the HDMI port only. And the cover isn't mini winny, okay? It's a good size. I mean, you open it up on your own tab, guys, okay? You know, this is kind of furthering my idea that on the business board, the Z8 might be a twin to the Z9. So on the business board talk, okay, not talking about what I like or what I don't like, all right? that camera would be a mimic of the Z9 without the grip. And there you have it, the baby Z9. All right? Don't screw with all the features. You're going to get all the features. It really becomes a baby Z9, which goes back to the argument that the price might be more like $47.99. And the slot on the business board is still open for the $3,500. Okay? And whatever it is, they're not going to fill it now because that'll be a leech. And okay, and it's going to pull the sales from the Z8. The other camera will be way down on the price chart. It could be Woody's $1,800 camera. I priced it where it's like their flagship APS-C. So let's see what you guys are saying so you can help me with this conversation. I'm not familiar with the Z9. I have a Z6 too. All right, so I'm running, as my main camera in here, I'm running a Z6. But Randy, who's Randall Brander, does have the Z6 II, and he has the Z7 II. So he's got a pair of twins. You see how it happens? So I'm thinking on the business side, the guy that has the Z9 might want a pair of twins, the Z9 and the Z8. So I want a lighter camera, okay? I'm the end buyer now. So I'm over on the desires side, desires of my heart. I want a lighter camera, so the Z8 is going to be it. So are they going to be very bold and put that at $3,800 or $3,999? That would be a pretty bold move, honestly, if it's a baby Z9. I'd have to take my hat, and I'm not even wearing, Charles, can I use your hat? I'd have to take my hat off to them, okay, and say, wow, that is pretty gutsy, pretty ballsy, okay? So that's why on the business side, you can see where they would have their little arguments. Now, on the feature side, I'd like a flippy screen, okay? It would be kind of stupid for the Z8 not to have 8K. How's it going to compete with the R5s from Sony and the R5 from Canon if it doesn't have 8K? So I'm thinking, I don't want to say that's a desire of my heart, but I'm thinking that's pretty much a given on that point, okay? When they do come out with the information, I will put the link here, okay? Because remember, when you click my links for pre-orders and stuff, it actually gives me a little bit of money. And that's what helps grease the wheels of the channel, all right? So the other thing that can give me money is money. And in the description, I have a thing where you can actually get me a thank you, a way to actually support one of the shows and put in an Amazon gift card or a PayPal donation. That's all voluntary, okay? But this channel's not, which they call monetized, so I can't receive like, oh, thank you, Peter. Here's like 20 bucks from, what do you call it, the chats, okay? So that stuff is in the description, okay? So Tim is talking, and he says, I think the main target for the Z8 is to convert the DSLR customers to mirrorless more than to get people to brand swap. That and the Z-Series customers to upgrade, as well as get more dollars per customer. So Canon's game for getting more dollars per customer is a game that I don't approve of, okay? Canon's game to actually get more dollars per customer has been on display now twice. Not only once, actually 3 times, okay? So I'm wrong. It's 3 times that they've done this, okay? So the R5 came out very crippled, okay? And now who you can assign that crippledness to from Canon is up to you. I'm going to blame it on the marketing people, okay, with a little twinge from the engineering people. Because they came out with the R5 at $38.99, which, by the way, for the first time, and Canon is going to have a meeting like Nikon's going to have a meeting tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Canon is going to have a meeting day after tomorrow. So there might be surprises at that meeting. So remember, the people that go back into the 50s, 1950s, 1960s, that battle at each other's throats have always been Canon and Nikon. So if you want Canon to add a flippy screen, or if you want Canon to add a 4K, it doesn't come from us as customers. We can scream to high heaven and Canon isn't gonna budge. But if Nikon puts in 4K on their cameras, within days, I'm saying days, I'll even be a little bit more bold and say hours, Canon will be making an announcement. They are going to respond, the knee-jerk response. So if I was a doctor and Canon was my patient and I hit the knee with the knee-jerk action, I'd keep my body away because it's going to get kicked. Okay? Canon does a knee-jerk action to Nikon. All right? So is it a coincidence that we have Nikon coming out with a big announcement tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then the day after, Canon's going to come out with announcements? And you know, it isn't going to be we've updated our firmware. It's going to be a little bit of value there. So I'm getting into a rabbit trail here, which I'm trying so hard not to do that, okay? But the whole world is convinced that the Canon R5 Mark II is not coming until 2024. And that the big news is that Canon is going to shore up their R5 to try to make it more combative, and that's what their announcement is going to be. That's a possibility. The other possibility is it might not even be in that sector of the market. It might be on the business side, the lower prices. Canon might be coming out with an $1,800, $1,900, $2,000, $2,500 camera. I don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Okay? However, we do have a clue. Their pride and their joy, the big boy that they dressed up in their three-piece suit and are marching around, this is our model. This is our prince. Okay? Suddenly, we've gone from $38.99, $35.99. Now their prince, their little king, is $32.99, $3,300, and you get a bonus gift with it. It's not only $3,200, you get a present. Merry Christmas. They've been watching the Christmas Room, okay? So that is a lot of slippage. You have that in the stock market where your stock is $3,800 a share and it's on sale for $3,200, $3,300 a share. You'd be screaming, I've lost a lot of money. And then they're going to give you some bonus presents on top of it. All right, what's the clue? What are we saying there? Business people, what's the clue? There just might be a camera that's going to take the place of the R5 on Thursday. Not likely. I'm not stupid, okay? I don't have the word stupid, but you're not going to get a $3,800 camera to slide all the way down to $2,900. So if you take a $350 value of that grip is $350. Might even be higher for the R5, okay? So you subtract that from $3,300, which is what the camera's retailing for, you're at $29.99 at their secondary flagship camera. So that opens the door for a new camera to slide into that slot on the business battle plan. I'm not even going to talk about features, okay? Just wanted to introduce that. So that is quite interesting to me. I don't know how it strikes you if you put on your business hat, you know, the smart guy. Why would I let my camera purposely, why would I sell it to the camera stores at such a big discount, a huge discount, okay, when Nikon is going to be putting out the competitor to my camera, okay? So a weaker-minded person would say, well, We want to get the Canon R5 in the hands of the people so they don't jump and go to the Z8. So Canon might be worried the Z8 might be more compelling. People might leave the Canon ground and go over to the Z8 ground. That could be one thought. I'm not saying I believe it or I don't believe it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying it's a possibility. They might be saying we don't want people to leave. So let's cut the price and get more people to buy the Canon R5 right now, just 2 days before the camera is announced and released. Let's announce it. Let's lower the price. Okay, that's one possibility. The other possibility, you've got to say is a possibility. Now, you don't have to agree with it, but as a business person or a politician, you'd have to say, yeah, they're talking anti-light bulb, and we need to make a statement from our campaign, anti-light bulbs. Okay, I tried to pick something that's not controversial. All right, so they could be doing that also. So let's get back over to the desires of our heart. All right, so let's see what I missed out. Tim, you're gonna try to send me down a rabbit trail, okay? I did finally wash my car and just sprayed it and then rinsed it, one after the other. The car looks like I sent it to a detailer. $8.95, and you could buy that on the Walmart affiliate link. I don't even know where I have that. Is that here? Okay, so that's for a wax, okay? All right, so where I really was is with Tim. He thinks that the business plan is to get the Z8 people to convert the DSLR. Now, I agree that's a good possibility, Tim, okay? Why, how I would challenge you on that if we were at the business meeting, and it's just my job to challenge you, not express my beliefs, okay, is I would challenge you that the people that have the DSLRs, they're going to have to go to the mirrorless. There is no other choice. The DSLR is going to fade into being a niche camera. It isn't right now, okay, but it has mightily faded where the mirrorless has basically taken the driver's seat. Every word that comes out of all the camera companies is mirrorless. And that's why I think the DF from Nikon, remember I was trying to make the position of that, is, while it is a mirrorless camera, I think it could be one of the guys that has a very big impact by adding video to it. The other possibility is they don't do that at all, okay? And they just upgrade it, and it's kind of a fluky thing. It's not a major part of their business plan, okay? But they have a lot of people like Woody that are strictly camera shooters. And they have a resentment, those camera shooters, to the fact that their camera has video in it. I think those people are far and few between. I don't think they count in the marketing plan. But maybe that camera was already rolling for a year or two. So rather than abandon it, they might just do it, okay? So that's not going to compete with the Z8 at all. It actually will be its own niche, okay? It'll be their Leica wannabe, all right? And the ZFC can also be their Leica wannabe if they upgrade that camera or make it where it has a twin, where the ZFC also has a full frame format, okay? But we're back on the business. I got you guys so much in the business, nobody's talking to me about the Z8 features that you guys want, okay? So you guys do good, much better than I expected as business thinkers. Very good. I have to compliment me and you together as a team. So Scotty is saying that the DSLR cameras are going to be likened to the film cameras of the past. Mirrorless is not an evolution, but a revolution. Okay, so the clue to that being a very true statement is they're abandoning their lenses. The lenses is what's paying their Chick-fil-A dinners. Okay, it's not the camera bodies. Okay, it brings in a shot in the arm in the bank account. The camera bodies does do that, but the lenses actually go on and on. What do we call it in the YouTube world? an evergreen video. So if I make a video on making a cake, okay, that is just as relevant on my kitchen channel now as it was 3 years ago. Or I made rice pudding on my kitchen, Peter's Kitchen, okay, shameless plug, Peter's Kitchen. I made a rice pudding in the Instant Pot, and it's still one of my favorite rice puddings, okay. But that is still one of my best videos, and it's like a year or two old. It's an evergreen video, okay. So if I make a video on the 90D, or if I make a video on the Nikon Z50 or the Z5, okay, that is dated. As the new cameras take it, you're going to have those frugal shoppers will look at that video, but it's not going to bring me any money or viewers, so to speak of. And I don't want to sound crass, okay, but that is what YouTube is about. It is basically about making money and creating a little group of friends, those two items. So the people that are in it for the group of friends, the money doesn't matter that much. It's nice. It's very nice. Everybody likes to be patted on the back. And the best way to pat somebody on the back, give them a tip. You do that to your waitress and your waiter. You did a good job, Gustavo, okay? And you give the guy a $50 tip, and he's just taken by it. I mean, it's like people haven't given him 50. That's the generosity of your heart in tipping them. That's what happens in the YouTube world also. Those tips start to matter, whether your channel is monetized or not, okay? So, where was I left off? So, okay, it was the DSLRs, I think, is going to peter out. It's going to wane away, okay? Scotty says, for years I was adding more EF lenses thinking they would never become obsolete. I added that in. I was wrong, I admit it. So Canon is focused very, very much on what? The RF lens mount. As a matter of fact, their business battle plan includes keeping other camera companies out. Don't you dare make an RF lens that autofocuses, because our legal team is going to take you to the mat. It's going to take you down by the ear, okay? It's going to pin you. They want the money from the lenses. They'll take the hit now, where people like Peter Gregg, okay, or Simon at Ordinary Filmmaker, or Justin at Babyback Maniac Leftovers, that's his new camera channel, okay, or Randy at his channel, where I don't understand why they don't let Sigma and Tamron make RF lenses, okay? They probably have deals in the making where they're going to get a hefty a royalty in the future, but for right now, they really want to establish the fact that you are not free to make it without a contract with us. And we don't basically have a contract with anybody at this point. Now, there are RF lenses that are manual focus, and those are not being attacked by the Canon legal team, all right? So Canon saw that the biggest lens line in the world of all time is the EF, like Scotty just said, okay? I never thought that the EF lens mount would be removed from being manufactured. It's the creme de la creme. It's the staple. It's the Chevrolet of the car market. Chevrolet will always be there. Now, wouldn't it be funny tomorrow if you heard that Chevrolet is no longer going to be making cars? We're a lot closer to that than you think, okay? One of their best-selling cars is the Chevrolet Bolt. It's an electric car. It undercuts the market. They've figured out how to make the car not catch on fire in your garage, okay? So they've solved that problem. Their overheating problem, that one comes with flames. The Canon R5 doesn't come with flames, okay? But you can cook your bacon on it, all right? And now they have announced that they are discontinuing the Chevy Bolt. Wow, that took me by surprise. So let's not get into the Chevrolet business plan, okay? Let's stay with what we are. So I'm going to be disappointed that the Z8 does not have a flippy screen forward. So what's the advantage of the flippy screen forward, okay? Why do I like that? Why do I care? Because it really shouldn't matter. I should be able to buy a little monitor and put it on top. Correct? Do I hear a yay or a nay? Yeah. Okay. The problem is when you plug in a monitor, you're plugging it into your HDMI port. It doesn't magically just read what the camera says. And Nikon doesn't have a multi-purpose hot shoe. Sony has a multi-purpose hot shoe. So you could slide in your flash, but you can also slide in something where it actually, without HDMI, you're monitoring. Okay? So Nikon, Canon don't got that. Okay? So when you plug something into the HDMI on the Canon, it severely limits the camera. Oh my God. So you don't want to plug something into your HDMI unless you're actually going to run a Ninja 5 or something to that effect. Okay? So on the Nikon, it's a little bit less restricted. So I have this Nikon Z6. You're watching it right now. Okay? So this big boy is plugged in to my system where I'm broadcasting. And how is it plugged in? All right, the ZFC is also plugged into my system. So I got 4 cameras in my system. They're all running at 4K. They're all running by HDMI. Okay? And the Canon is sitting over to the side. Okay? It's not plugged in. I'm actually using that camera by hand. And I'm loving the camera more and more. As a matter of fact, I have actually pulled it off the market for sale. That's how much more I'm actually loving the R6. Where before, it was like dirty water. I need to clean out, I need to sell the R6, and I need to get the R6 Mark II at a minimum, or get my heart's desire, which is the Panasonic S5 Mark II. That's what I would really, really, really love, okay? But in order to free up, I have to free up money to buy something. However, I was trying to teach something to 3 people at the same time, because I get into that where I either do consultations or I just teach somebody something. And I'm using the R6 and I'm going like, boy, this camera does better than I thought. Dang, this camera does better than I thought. Okay? So, dang, this camera does better than I thought. So I pulled it. I don't have it up for sale anymore. I'm actually using it. And if I was actually vlogging, very unlikely vlogging camera is the Canon R6, right? Not the Mark II. Mark II is even better, but the Mark II is $2,500. The Canon R6 is now brand new, $1999. Adorama, hello? B&H, hello? B&H gives you a present, okay? Battery grip for that, $350. So if you just flip the battery grip for $300, you're buying the camera, the R6, for $1,700. Well, their new R8 is $1,700. Okay? Would you rather have the R8 or the R6? The R6 has been through its little routine of solving some of the overheating. It will overheat, but now, far better, okay, than it was when it came out. But the R8 is just starting down that path. It's badly overheating, number 1. The R8, number 2, has got this teeny weeny little I want to pee on you battery. It's just an insult. It's a decent camera and you don't get an hour out of that battery. Okay? So if they did it to conserve money, you know how the SD slot can take an SD card, and on the newer cameras it can also take the CFexpress card. So the one slot is dual purpose. They should have done that on the R8. They sell it to you with the baby battery, and the baby batteries are cheaper, and you can buy extra of those. But that same card slot should have taken their regular bigger battery. So same slot, dual purpose. Then you can take the R8 and run it. But their business plan is to get you hooked on the R8, move you to the R6 Mark II. Okay? And their business plan is to make the cameras overheat until you go like, dang, it's $1,700. I'd rather buy the R6 that they got on sale right now. Okay? And with the grip and with the battery grip, heck, it's the same price. So tomorrow morning, I might do an impromptu video and tell you what I feel. I don't want to clash with Ordinary Filmmaker, and I don't want to clash with Chuck at AP Studio. Hi, Roy. I did see you. So he's saying that he hates the hot shoe from Sony, the multifunction. I was trying to think medium format, manual focus, multifunction. I'll get it eventually, Roy. I'm a little older than you. I prefer the Nikon 10-pin. So Roy, let me ask you a question. Do you have the knowledge, or does anybody here have the knowledge? The Nikon 10-pin, can you put a monitor on that and not plug into the HDMI connection and monitor? If you can, that's big news for me. That's pretty good. So Roy says, as long as the Z8 has LED lit buttons, a 10-pin connector, and their big battery, EL18 battery grip, otherwise they can keep it. So this is very much on the argument for personal preferences. See how Roy's argument wouldn't fit into the business meeting? Roy would not even be welcome in the business meeting, where they're going to make the battle plan for the business meeting. But what is welcome is Roy's comments as to how he feels about the camera, because that is what's going to sweep through all the YouTube people like me. Roy, do you have a YouTube channel? That's what he's going to report. Randy is going to report, what his heart is saying. I like this. I can picture Randy saying, I like this. Or I can picture Randy saying, I don't like that. Okay? So I picture everyone here either being endeared to the camera. Oh, Roy's I thank you for answering me, Roy. Or not endeared to the camera. Okay? So that is pretty much my pre-show for the Z8, where we don't have a camera and we are free to speculate to our heart's content. So tomorrow at 8 a.m., we got Ordinary Filmmaker, and there will be guests that he will have. One of them might be Jordan, one I don't know, from VP Review, now at Petopixel, okay? Might be Jordan, might be Chris, it might be, well, I do know. I think Chuck has said he is going to be on Simon's live stream at 8 a.m. So we basically will be watching all the live boys do their hard work tomorrow. And then after that show, Chuck is going to do his live show. So thank you guys. There's been quite a few people watching. Those that, how did they used to say it in PBS? This show is made possible by a grant from. So when you give an Amazon gift certificate or a donation, I'll put your name up front and say this show is made possible by a grant from Joe Blow. Okay, I think that sounds cool, because when I was growing up, the PBS stations used to do that. So that meant that this company gave money, but they didn't have any influence over the show. All right, and that's basically the same thing here. So those of you that have done that, are doing that, and will do that, I do want to say thank you, because I'm grateful for that. All right, so that concludes the show. We'll meet again tomorrow, because it will be the day where we actually see the good stuff. All right, Peter Gregg, Miami, Florida. Bye-bye. Whoosh.